Out of all fighting games, it is nearly 100% agreed upon that the best modern way to play them is on console. They have all the modern features like online and netcode unless you're Nintendo, and that controllers are the closest thing you can replicate to a arcade stick. But there's one feature that neither PC or console has: the ability to play it while laying down. What if I want to play the game portably wherever I want? But what if I want it to be bad? I mean, it still has more frames than Mortal Kombat 1 on Switch. Portable fighting games have existed for almost as long as handheld consoles have also existed. For consoles like the Game Boy, the DS, the Vitas, etc. But they've all varied in quality though. Some with just slightly watered down ports of the original game, and then there's Mortal Kombat for the Game Boy. Who were the developers in debt to that they needed to scam kids in the 90s like this? The point is, fighting games have at least always had a small prevalence on handheld consoles. Whether that's stuff like the 3DS or the Vita, or even stuff like the Neo Geo Pocket Player. But when Apple revealed the iPhone in 2007, it caused a massive wave of game developers just ransacking the App Store with games that had absolutely no reason to ever be on a phone. BioShock Mobile, Dead Rising Mobile, but eventually fighting games did make their way onto the platform. I will be covering 4 notable mobile fighting games, beginning with the first one. Street Fighter 4 released on all major home consoles and PC in 2009, but a year later Capcom released a mobile version of the game in 2010, which actually received somewhat positive reviews. But now anyway, onto actually playing the game, and it's pretty much just Street Fighter 4. Like, I'm not even joking. It's just Street Fighter 4 with bad graphics and touch controls. So, loading into the game's training mode, the game's first notable change is the graphics. They swapped out the game's 3D models and turned for this kind of flat pixel art look. They literally just did this by taking photos of the 3D model, crunching the life out of it, then using it as sprites for the game. It's similar to what Midway did with the original Mortal Kombat games, where they took photos of the actors and put it in the game. And also, for some reason, they put in actual animation for the games in some parts of it. Like, for example, your Ultra combo randomly switches to the startup animation for it, then back to the mobile game graphics, and the victory screen is just straight up like a ripped image. Now, onto the next part, the controls. Now, this was in the era if you wanted to port a game to mobile, you just take the game, add touch controls, and just call it a day. And this game definitely was no exception. And this was before MK Mobile came out, so there was no like tapathon type gameplay. You just have a joystick and the buttons, and that's just it. There isn't really even a lot to say about this game, since it's literally just Street Fighter 4 but on mobile. This game feels like something you find on like a 3DS or Vita port of the game. So basically, it's an actual fighting game and not just tapping the screen aggressively. Even with all this being said, this game actually was a massive surprise for me, even though I basically had like no expectations at all for this game. It's a surprisingly decent port of Street Fighter 4 on mobile. And if I had to rate the game, I would give it a 7 out of 10 for fighting game standards and an 8.5 out of 10 for mobile game standards. And this kind of leads into a weird middle ground situation with these mobile fighting games about how much they take from the actual home console fighting games. Should they try to replicate the fighting game formula on mobile with like joysticks and buttons, or should they be bad? This is all where it goes downhill. In April of 2015, NRS released Mortal Kombat X Mobile, later just renamed to Mortal Kombat Mobile in 2019. It was the first true fighting game on mobile, I say with the biggest quotation marks of all time. This was the first game to use the virtual tapping and swiping instead of the joysticks and buttons, aka the most bland and generic way you could ever control a game. There is no gameplay that justifies having this game installed for more than like 5 minutes. One of the main things with this game is the ability to collect and use Mortal Kombat characters. Yeah, it's a gacha game. It's a gacha game with Mortal Kombat characters. But here's the thing though, this game is ugly. At least with other mobile games, they try to make their characters look as appealing as possible so you want to spend money. But for this game, they just straight up ripped the actual 3D models from the mainline games that have an entirely different art style. Every character in this game looks like they're in an unrendered scene in Blender, and all have this like weirdly grayish tone to them. They could have just gave the game its own art style. If they didn't want to do an entire new art style, they could have just reused the old art style from the arcade games. But yet again, this is the same company that has been infamous for not being able to make animations whatsoever. But unlike Street Fighter 4, for example, this game isn't a port, so there's actually more stuff to say about it. The game's single player follows the exact same level style and format as all the other mobile games, where it's a massive line of way too easy levels, where it's way too long to actually get any other characters besides paying for them, and we're back to start. Anyway, when you start the game, you're given 3 generic characters, and after you complete the tutorial, you unlock your first character. Now, personally, I got Nightwolf, a character I know absolutely nothing about, but who has a special spirit selection ability where you can pick 1 out of 3 spirits that just like straight up don't affect the game at all. Like, genuinely, out of all the footage I recorded for this game, I do not think it has ever affected it differently. I mean, like, it's not really like there's any gameplay at all to affect, but still. If I haven't made it clear yet, this game's a cash grab, but not in like a get rich quick type cash grab. More like a drain the wallets of people slowly over time so you have enough money to just make another Mortal Kombat game, make 2 DLC packs and just dip out. And since this is a constant live service game, they can just take whatever 3D models from the current mainline game and just dump it in here, then make them look as ugly as possible, then charge from $3 to up to $22 for a single skin for a character that 1, you might not like, or 2, a wrong version of that character. That's like if you ask a family member for a game for Christmas, they get you the game, but it's the wrong version of that game. Well, I mean, you still have the game. Overall, this game is just not good at all, in my opinion. It has like no redeemable factors. The gameplay has the depth of a hot tub with no water in it. The game looks awful. At least Street Fighter 4 Mobile had like kind of like a little bit of charm to it. This just looks ugly. And it also commits the biggest sin a mobile game could ever have, always requiring internet, which defeats the entire purpose of a mobile game. And for the ratings, I don't know, like a 2 out of 10, just barely over a 1, because it technically has fighting in it. But again, saying that is like taking 2 pieces of white bread and 1 single slab of uncooked cheese, and just putting it together and saying that's a grilled cheese sandwich. Is it really though? Note before we begin this part of the video, I didn't realize there was a Shadow Fight 4 apparently. Shadow Fight 3 was just the one that popped up first when I just called it a day. Now this game's special because this is the first game in this video that wasn't based off any other actual IP and is actually built for mobile. Shadow Fight is a game series made by the game studio Nikki for mobile devices. Now when you first boot up the game, you get shown a simple character selection screen. Now I wasn't recording this part and I didn't really have any other idea, so I just made the Blueberry Man because his hair reminded me of one. And when the game begins, what the? Yeah, so apparently this is the only game in this video that had a budget that was more than $15. There's probably some deep lore behind this series, but like that's not important to this video. After this, you get thrown into the menu and forced into the standard mobile game tutorial that's impossible to go away from. And the game modes are basically the same as in Mortal Kombat with like the single player and fake online. The same like linear pathway missions. But unlike Mortal Kombat Mobile, this is a little bit more excusable since this game has actual like controls to it, not just like endless tapping. It has like a virtual joystick and button, so it actually has a little bit of depth. The game has all the standard fighting game stuff like high punches, high kicks, low kicks, but your character also has his own unique ability, called Shadow Abilities, where you can summon a special move when your Shadow mode is activated. Which isn't the most revolutionary idea, but after the last 2 games we played that were a toasted version of Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat Mobile, it was a nice change of pace. And for the online, it's still not actual people. From what I read, apparently they take the loadouts of people and give it to like an NPC, then you fight that NPC for some reason. Overall, I feel like this is the best way to make a mobile fighting game. It has all the specials, buttons, and depth of a regular fighting game, and with just all the microtransaction stuff to still appease the higher-ups. The only real complaint I have with this game is the fact the gameplay feels a tiny bit slow and disjointed. You press a button and it takes a while for the animation to actually finish and hit the opponent. But in the end, I'd give this game about like an 8 out of 10 for mobile game standards and a 7.5 for fighting game standards. And we are back to where we started. Marvel Conquest of Champions is a Marvel mobile fighting game developed by a Canadian game studio called Kabam, who is just responsible for just all of the Facebook mobile games. Who I can only imagine Marvel reading the pitch for the game going, hey, so I know people have been begging for a actual Marvel fighting game for years. We could ask someone like Capcom or, I don't know, like any actual fighting game developer do it. Or we can pick the devs who made games like Castle Age and Castle Age HD. you're a genius. When it comes to the actual gameplay of the game, it's again more like MK Mobile, where you're just kind of running and tapping. But also, unlike MK Mobile, the game also has special moves and super moves, so it's not just endless tapping. And of course, since there's not really a lot of actual gameplay differences between the characters, outside of looks and specials, the devs can just keep pumping out more and more characters, only having to change the art and the supers. And the super moves that kind of have a weird amount of effort put into them. Either that or I'm just used to the MK Mobile fatalities that look like they're just made in Google Slides. But to be fair though, NOS has never been good at animation ever. And when it comes to the gameplay and game modes, once again it's the exact same single player and fake multiplayer. But also for some reason, when I was writing this video, I discovered that this game is coming to PC for some reason. Now listen, I'm a big fan of brain-dead mobile games, but I can't touch glass screens without breaking my finger. Then I break my legs in the afternoon. Then I keep breaking my collarbone in the evening. Then after playing this game feels like the game was made by a team of devs who wanted to make an actual fighting game, but made the mistake of thinking they're gonna get a job in the tech industry in 2025, when that's like asking Nintendo to make an online service that doesn't run on Windows Vista. Impossible. So they had to doom themselves into making the same character over and over again at a mobile game studio. You see, this character is actually different from regular Spider-Man, because this is stock enhanced Spider-Man that makes him a whole different character apparently. But overall, I think this is the best you can get out of the standard mobile game tapathon type fighting game. It has a simple mindless tapping, but it also has actual specials that are different and actually affect the game. And it has actually good super moves that don't look like it was animated by me at 3 a.m. in Blender. And plus it has just all the microtransactions that lets the CEO buy a new yacht. And for the score, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10. It's a slightly better version of MK Mobile. While I do make fun of these games a lot, I think it's also important to note like what type of audience is buying these games. The people who normally like play these type of games are either people who can't afford or don't have a PC or console to play the actual version of these games, so they have to resort to playing the freemium mobile game version of it, or young kids who have parents who don't let them play the actual game, so they had to sneakily download the mobile game version. Besides that, there's a ton of other mobile fighting games that I didn't cover, because I basically said all the things I needed to say. There's stuff like the KOF mobile game that's pretty much just KOF 13, or the 2 Injustice games that have the exact same problems as the MK mobile game. And that's it for this video. If you like it, you should like it, but you don't have to. I'm not your parents. I can't tell you what to do.